Well, once again, joining me today is Abby St. John, talking all things in the entertainment world. Now, Abby, one of the big things is Jurassic World 3. It's one of the biggest movies expected coming out in the next couple of months into the year. And one of the big things that we saw on Twitter that was teased, I guess you can call it, is that three big names are finally returning to the franchise.
Yes, they just started shooting in Hawaii. It's underway right now, and very exciting news for definitely Jurassic fans. Laura Dern, who played Dr. Ellie Sattler, Sam Neill, who played Dr. Alan Grant, and Jeff Goldblum, who played Alan Malcolm, are all three of them. They're reprising their roles in Jurassic World. Jurassic World 3. Now, there's a question of if it's going to be a cameo or major roles. Now, with Jeff Goldblum, people weren't too impressed with this cameo in the last Jurassic World, but it has been confirmed that they are going to have major roles in this movie. So it's definitely going to be exciting for those OG Jurassic fans going back to the first set of Jurassic Park movies. So it's going to be very exciting to see how their roles will be played out in Jurassic World 3. And for those fans who love the original movies, they're definitely going to be excited to see those familiar faces in this upcoming movie.
Yeah, because it's definitely going to bring all that nostalgia. And one thing, too, that I was reading, Abby, that I found really interesting was that a lot of this is going to have a lot more animatronic dinosaurs. Because I know actors say they work better with practical creatures or things present there. So just talk about how big of an impact this could be for this movie.
I think it's definitely a different route. You have the CGI animation, which definitely works in most movies, but like you just said, actors do prefer when they have that practical real thing to work off of, because it is just easier if you can physically see what you're actually acting against, opposed to nothing or a green screen and then having it edited in with CGI later. So I think this will be definitely interesting to see how it looks, if does have that realistic element that CGI definitely has, or if it's not going to turn out, that would be disappointing. But I feel like since we are in an age that there's so many new materials and so many different ways to make things look realistic, I think this is going to be interesting to see. And I feel like, and hopefully, is a success, because then you can definitely use that in future films for all across the platform.
Absolutely. And excuse me, one thing with Tenant, I know we talk about this a lot about how mostly I was getting pushed back and also how it needs to make $800 million to break even. But there was an article that was really interesting that came out, Abby, that it did not use visual effects at all, because we see these movies, we see the trailer that looked like, oh, lots of VFX were used. But ironically, none of that was really used at all during the filming process.
Yes, exactly. On the 10th anniversary of the movie of Christopher Nolan's Inception, it was played across theaters or select theaters, and then it was also given a special screening of Tenet, just a little teaser, as you will. And someone did tweet out explaining what this person kind of saw as he was watching. So they did confirm that John David Washington is listed as the protagonist. The professional stuntmen in the film said that they've never done anything like this. They shot each scene twice, one going forwards, and then the actors all acted it backwards. And then, like you said, wasn't shot on a green screen at all, and it was all and it was all shot practically. Robert Pattinson, who stars in it, said that no one has ever done anything like it before, and no one will ever be able to. And there was some speculation that this film is going to be on time travel. It's actually on time inversion, which is a little bit differently. And Nolan also did claim, saying that this film was the hardest film to edit in post production, just because they didn't have any of those green screens or those digital CGI effects. So it was definitely one of the hardest films to edit in post. And also, this film also lies a great deal of stress on the importance and the theme of family and personal relationships. Just like with Inception, you're going to see something similar with the actors. They're trying to overcome some personal struggles within their life and their family. So I'm very definitely excited to see how the no green screen and those practical elements turn out.
And lastly, Abby, just before we wrap things up here, it was announced recently, Disney Plus is jumping on those remake trains, and one of the ones that was announced for some of the people that may know it from the 80s, the classic movie Three Men and a Baby is getting that remake treatment. Now, they're of course trying to modernize it, and of course, they grabbed someone like Zac Efron to play the lead role, which is interesting because he did talk about in his docuseries that he was going to possibly step down. So just talk about how this could possibly play out here.
Yes, there's not a whole lot of information as of yet on the remake of Three Men and a Baby, who originally starred Tom Selleck, Steve Guttenberg, and Ted Danson, incredible actors. And then there was obviously the sequel in the 90s. But Zac Efron is starred in it. There is no director as of yet, but we do know that Zac Efron is making his return to Disney for this remake. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it and how they kind of modernize it, opposed to back in the 80s when times were just a little bit different.
Absolutely. Well, Abby St. John, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Connor.